There are places in Prague where the past refuses to stay buried. The building at Karlova Street 28 was one of them. Josef Novak had lived in the third-floor apartment for only 2 weeks when the landlady, Mrs. Svobodova, handed him a brass key during his second month's rent payment. She was a woman in her 70s, with silver hair pulled back so tightly it seemed to stretch her weathered face. "For the basement storage," she said, pressing the cold metal into his palm. "Your unit includes locker B7. Don't go beyond the red line on the floor. The far section is unstable." Joseph thought nothing of it. Old buildings had old rules. He pocketed the key and forgot about it until a rainy afternoon in March when he needed to retrieve his winter climbing equipment for a weekend trip to the mountains. The basement entrance was at the end of the ground floor corridor. A heavy oak door with iron hinges that groaned as he pushed it open. Stone steps led down into darkness. Joseph flicked the light switch and a series of bare bulbs flickered to life, casting long shadows across brick walls that glistened with moisture. The storage lockers were exactly where Mrs. Svobodova had described. A row of wire mesh cages along the left wall. He found B7, grabbed his gear, and was about to leave when he noticed something odd. At the far end of the basement, past the painted red line on the concrete floor, stood another door. Not oak like the entrance, but metal. Industrial. Completely out of place in this medieval building, and it was slightly ajar. Joseph knew he should leave. The landlady's warning echoed in his mind, but curiosity, that dangerous human trait, pulled him forward. His footsteps echoed as he crossed the red line. The temperature dropped noticeably. His breath misted in the air. He reached the metal door and pulled it open fully. Behind it wasn't a room. It was a staircase, stone steps, worn smooth by centuries of use, spiraling downward into absolute darkness. The stairs descended far too deep. The building only had 4 floors above ground, and he was already below street level. This was impossible. Joseph pulled out his phone and turned on the flashlight. The beam disappeared into the void below, revealing nothing but more stairs. Against every instinct screaming at him to stop, he began to descend. 20 steps, 30, 50. The air grew colder with each step, and the walls changed from brick to rough-hewn stone. Ancient medieval, perhaps older. Joseph's light caught strange markings carved into the rock. Symbols he didn't recognize, worn almost smooth by time and moisture. At step 73 he heard it, a sound drifting up from below. Footsteps, not his own. These were coming up toward him, echoing in the darkness ahead. Slow, deliberate footsteps on stone, and Joseph froze. His light revealed nothing but empty stairs below. Yet the footsteps continued, growing closer, and then came the voices. Whispered Czech, but an old dialect he could barely understand. Multiple voices, overlapping, speaking words that sounded like prayers or warnings. The temperature plummeted. Joseph's breath came out in thick clouds. His phone's battery, fully charged minutes ago, dropped to 12% in seconds, and then his light caught something that made him turn and run. A shadow on the stairs below, not cast by anything, just a darkness in the shape of a person, climbing towards him, and behind it, more shadows, dozens of them, ascending from whatever lay at the bottom of those impossible stairs. Joseph ran. He took the steps 3 at a time, his climbing gear forgotten, his only thought to reach the metal door. Behind him, the footsteps accelerated. No longer slow, now chasing. The whispered voices rose to shouts in that ancient Czech dialect, and beneath it all, a sound like grinding stone. He burst through the metal door, slammed it shut, and didn't stop running until he reached his apartment. The next morning, Joseph went to return his key to Mrs. Svobodova. She looked at him with knowing eyes, taking in his pale face and the dark circles under his eyes. "You went past the red line," she said. Not a question, a statement. "Well, what's down there?" Joseph whispered. "How deep do those stairs go?" Mrs. Svobodova was quiet for a long moment. Then, "In the 14th century, this street was built over the old Jewish quarter, and before that, over Roman ruins. And before that," she trailed off. "Some say those stairs go all the way down, to the very beginning. And everything that was buried along the way is still down there, still waiting. For what? For someone to reach the bottom." Joseph moved out the following week. The apartment at Karlova Street 28 was relisted shortly after. If you visit Prague and need a place to stay, you might see the listing. Beautiful third-floor apartment, historical building, includes basement storage. Just remember, don't cross the red line, and whatever you do, don't open the